The Dorvathy archivist set her instrument case on the counter and unclipped the latches with the flat, unhurried precision of someone who had never been in a hurry in her life. She had 4 fingers on each hand, which I had known for 40 months, and she used all of them evenly, the way a craftsman uses tools rather than the way a person uses hands. Her name was Vessel of Record Thurash, and she had come from the main archive at Dorvath Crossing to receive whatever documentation I had managed to preserve from the Kesavar ground period. Whatever I had managed to preserve. I had managed to preserve one thing. The annex office at Kesavar Station had tall windows on the west wall, and the noon light was coming through them flat and white, the kind of light that doesn't flatter anything and doesn't try to. A processing counter ran the length of the room. Behind Thurash, 2 junior archivists stood with their hands folded, their eye membranes at the half-lowered position that I had learned meant attentive deference. They were there to witness. The Dorvathy did nothing official without witnesses. Thurash opened her case. Inside, nested in gray padding, were a set of retrieval instruments I recognized. A document scanner, a chemical residue detector for identifying what kind of compounds had been used to destroy records, a humidity-sealed intake tray for physical materials. All of it extremely fine. All of it built for a world in which records exist. She looked at me. Her eye membranes came up to the 3/4 position, which meant direct address. "Observer Sol," she said, "we have reviewed the preliminary manifest from the Kesavar ground period, 40 months of embedded cultural observation. The manifest lists 712 registered survey tablets, 4 field audio recorders, and 239 supplementary note cards. None of these materials arrived at the Kesavar transit point. None were recovered from the site. The regional oversight team has advised us that the local administrative authority conducted a clearance operation on the site 8 days before your extraction." She paused one beat. "We have nothing from the Kesavar period." "I know," I said. The clearance operation was total. The chemical residue team found accelerant traces consistent with a sustained paper and medium burn at temperatures sufficient to destroy ink, photographic emulsion, and standard manufacture tablet polymer, every registered material format. Another beat. "There is no record of the Kesavar period, observer sold. 40 months, 11 administrative transitions, 14,000 registered residents at peak count." She said this without any audible weight because the Dorvathy do not add weight to statements. The weight is inherent. That is the whole of their philosophy. I reached into my jacket's inner left pocket and set the tablet on the counter. It was a standard-issue Cultural Observer's Survey tablet, 14 centimeters by 9, gray polymer cover, scuffed along the left edge where it had lived in my pocket for 3 years and 4 months. The corner had a small dent from the time I dropped it on a stone floor in the 4th month, and didn't replace it because replacements meant a supply request, and supply requests created a paper trail, and I had already started to understand what kind of place Kesavar was. The cover was gray. The tablet was unremarkable in every way. A tablet can be unremarkable. Thurash looked at it. Her eye membranes did not move. "Standard observer tablet," she said. "Polymer cover, ink-based internal pages. This would not have survived the accelerant burn if it had been present at the site." "It was in my jacket," I said. "Inner left pocket against my chest. I carried it on my person every day of the 40 months. When they searched me at the extraction point, they opened the cover, saw blank survey pages, and returned it." She reached for it. I did not stop her. She opened the cover. The inside front cover of a standard survey tablet is a blank gray polymer sheet, bonded to the cardstock cover. Mine was no longer blank. Ruled into it in graphite pencil, in columns of 5 with a diagonal through each completed group, starting at the upper left margin and running in 17 rows to the lower right, were hash marks. 247 of them. Thurash went very still. The Dorvathy stillness is not like human stillness. When a human goes still, They are suppressing something: breath, motion, the small muscular fidgets of being a living thing. When a Dorvathy goes still, they are not suppressing anything. They have simply stopped, the way a recording device stops when it reaches the end of a tape. It is a total and immediate halt. It means that the incoming information requires full processing resources and nothing can be spared for movement. She stayed like that for 11 seconds. I counted. 247, she said finally. These are hash marks in groups of 5, standard manual tally format. She looked up. This is a count. Yes. What does it count? I told her. I told her about the first one in the 3rd week, which I had not understood for what it was until I saw the second one 6 days later and recognized the pattern. I told her about the pace in the early months, 2, sometimes 3 per month, and the acceleration that began after the 8th administrative transition, when the pace became weekly, and then sometimes daily. I told her about the notation system I had developed for myself, not written anywhere because I could not risk written notation. The way I memorized each one, the date, the location within the compound, the stated justification where one was stated, the absence of justification where it was not. I told her about keeping the count in my head through each night and marking it in pencil each morning, while the light was still thin, and the compound was quiet enough that I could close my jacket over my hands and not be watched. I told her I use pencil because pencil is carbon and clay survive fire. Ink does not. I had known that from the first week, when I watched what they did to written materials they wanted gone, and I had made my decision about medium then and kept it for 39 months and 3 weeks. While I talked, Thurash held the tablet flat in both hands, all 8 fingers spread evenly on the polymer cover, the way you hold something when you are trying to understand its weight without pressing too hard. The 2 junior archivists had moved slightly forward. Their eye membranes were fully raised, which I had never seen before. When I finished, Thurash set the tablet down on the counter between us with the inside cover facing up. She adjusted it once minutely, so that it was squared to the counter's edge. 247, she said again. Over 40 months. The last mark is from the day before my extraction. I counted 246 at evening and made the 247th mark the following morning, when I confirmed the final instance. She was quiet for a moment. Then, Observer Solt. The Dorvathy Archives evidentiary standard requires documented record in an approved format. A pencil tally on the inside cover of an observer's survey tablet is not an approved format. I know. It would not be admissible in any formal proceeding under the Compact's evidence rules. I know that too. Then I am compelled to ask, why did you keep it? I thought about how to answer that. I had had 40 months to think about it, and I still found the answer difficult to put into Dorvathy, which is a language with 47 distinct words for categories of record, but only one word for the act of witnessing. Because they were people, I said, and because someone should know the number. Thurash looked at the tablet for a long time. Outside the tall windows, the noon light had shifted a fraction west, and a bar of it lay across the counter, and the hash marks were in it, graphite gray and very clear against the polymer. She picked up her retrieval stylus. She opened her intake tray. She set the tablet inside it and sealed the tray's humidity lock with 4 deliberate clicks. The tablet will be logged as a physical artifact of the Kesavar ground period, she said, under the catalog designation for observer-carried personal effects. She picked up her notation pad. The hash mark tally will be noted in the artifact's condition record as an internal marking of unknown origin. She paused with the stylus above the pad. 247 marks, she said, and wrote it down. I didn't say anything. There wasn't anything more to say. She finished her notation, snapped the stylus to the pad's clip, and looked at me one final time. Her eye membranes lowered to the quarter position, which is the Dorvathy gesture for formal acknowledgement of a completed transfer. Then she closed her instrument case and nodded to the junior archivists, and they followed her out through the west door into the white light. I stood at the counter for a while. I had kept the count for 40 months. I had walked out with it pressed against my chest, and I had said the number aloud in a room with tall windows, and a woman with 8 fingers had written it down in a format her own archive would never formally accept. It was not nothing. I had not been able to make it more than that. But it was not nothing.